I was so scared of being wrong. But now I'm like, every time I'm wrong, I'm like, great, what do I need to learn? Great, what's not working here? And I think that when you embrace failure or you embrace making mistakes and you take that as learning opportunities, your ego kind of takes the back seat and it opens up so many new opportunities for connections. Hello and welcome back to the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy, and today I'm really excited to be interviewing someone I came across on Instagram. She is the perfect mix of strategy and soul. Halima is the founder of Derma Clear Clinic, a skin therapist of 22 years, an e-commerce business owner, and a business alchemist in every sense of the word. From running a mobile beauty business to creating her own home-based skin studio and launching an ultrasonic skin device in lockdown, alongside formulating Australia's first buccal massage balm, created with a sensitive skin in mind, Halima has redefined what it means to grow a beauty brand with heart, integrity, and innovation. She's built a loyal client base with her signature approach to holistic treatments, from buccal massage and chi beauty to corrective skin services like IPL and microneedling. Her secret? She doesn't just deliver treatments, she creates a transformation and makes her clients feel deeply supported. Halima, welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sammy. A little nervous because this is my first podcast.
When I looked at your Instagram, I was like, surely she's done a lot of, podcasts and like collabs. Like you've got a huge following and I didn't even realize you were home salon as well, not going to lie. Like your website is insane.
Thank you. To do with socials, I feel like I just show up anyway, but it can be nerve-wracking when you're doing a podcast or doing a live video. I haven't even done a live on socials too. I think I always get worried, what if I fumble and say something silly? Because I have a tendency to do that.
Oh, I think we all do. And I don't know why people judge themselves so hard for it, because it's like, at the end of the day, who has never made a mistake or who has always said everything perfectly? Definitely not me, definitely not you. Like, I'm still waiting to find that perfect person.
Oh, no. And I think I prefer it being that unrefined on socials because it's just, you tend not to care as much. You're like, oh, yeah, that's okay. I'll put it up anyway. It's a bit silly. And then you find that people resonate with it. So it's like, oh, that works.
100%. So for anyone who doesn't know you and they don't follow you, who is Halima? Like, how would your friends and family describe you? Or like, what do you like to get up to in your spare time outside of business?
Okay, so my name's Halima Dandan. I'm 40 years old. I have been married for 18 years. I think I got that right. I have 3 kids. I have a 16-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old daughter, and my youngest is 8 years old. We also have a few pets because I love animals. I have an African grey parrot, which we almost lost earlier this week due to him flying away, but we found him. I've got a Turkish Angora a cat who's 12 years old, and some fish that they're mainly more my hubby's pets because I find them boring. But they don't do anything. But with regards to how family and friends would describe me, I feel like passionate in love, life, business. I put my all into everything that I do. I can be a little goofy sometimes, hence it can probably show up in some of my socials and videos and behind the scenes. I just want people to know who I am, I guess, through my socials before they come into clinic. Outside of business, I love retail therapy, massage, that self-care, because it helps me fill my cup, I love my dinners, I love getting out, but I love being more outdoors because working from home and also living in that same vicinity, it can feel like you're just constantly just at home. So I love being outdoors for that reason.
Yeah, 100%. I was looking at your stories the other day and I saw that your bird had flown away and you guys were doing everything to find him. And if you're listening to this episode right now, I'm not joking. I was literally saying to Halima before, anyone who loses a pet suddenly becomes the world's best marketer. Like, run me through what happened when your bird flew away. Like, where were you posting? What were you doing?
You know what? 100% I agree with that, Sammy, because I went into this mode where, you know, hubby went back to doing the usual things because I think he was trying to process. Like, we went looking for him for the first hour, lost that hope, and I went straight into, okay, posting on every single Facebook, TikTok. So our bird has his own social media, so I posted on there. And then I had people telling me there was things like Parrot Alert, which sends out alerts to everyone. Another one called Parrot 911, which actually sends out alert texts to people in the area, people in the surrounding areas. And I was like, oh my God. I went door knocking on each like neighbor, I think for about 3 or 4 blocks. Mind you, when we found our bird, he ended up being a lot further than that. So it was like, I felt like it was pointless at one point when I realized that. I even went to Officeworks. I printed out flyers. I got a flyer made. I stuck them all on the telephone poles, which you just reminded me I have to take down. I feel like my neighbors in that 3-4 blocks now know who I am. They know who Echo is. But yeah, I went straight into, and I couldn't go back into my house. I was sitting on the front porch. I remember my husband's like, why don't you go in and rest? And I'm like, nah, I haven't done enough. I said, what else can I do? And I just, kept going. We even ended up having neighbors searching for him in the streets. So it was a full search rescue.
Isn't that so cool that your community came together though and helped you with that? Like,
it was great.
Obviously you were making an impact.
I think I just went into overdrive. I had my kids posting up everywhere, like the posts everywhere, sliding it under the door, talking to neighbors. And yeah, it's funny how when you put it into your head, you're like, okay, and you hone in, you hyper focus and you're like, what else can I do? There must be something else I can do. And then it took until 5:30 that night. We decided to do our last walk around the area because we thought the noise had died down. And I got a phone call from someone that had found our bird. And I got emotional because I was feeling sorry for my daughter, because the backstory of this, it was my 12-year-old daughter that, poor thing, she made a little mistake. She had him on her shoulder, went to the front door. She slipped, the bird slipped and just went and flew. He panicked and he flew. And I didn't want her to be traumatized from it. So when the guy called me, said he found our bird, I got a little emotional, that feeling all built up all day. And then I remember my husband looking at me, and I thought he was asking me, did you find our bird? Did he find it? And he ended up saying that, is he dead? Because he saw me crying. He thought something bad had happened. And I nodded.
Oh no.
So he thought the bird had died.
Oh no.
So yeah, it was
hopefully your daughter wasn't there as you're like nodding and he's going, have you died? Yeah. No,
yeah.
We found him. Okay, I'm super curious, like the way you showed up for your bird, like Echo, in that moment.
Yeah.
After all of this has happened, have you ever thought to yourself, like, imagine if I showed up that way in my business?
100%. But I feel like it's maybe because of that I have that with my business, that I was able to do that. I don't know. I feel like that's why.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And like now that it's happened, did you kind of think of strategies or doing things that you never would have thought of before that you're like, maybe I could try this in my business?
Yeah, I think the way with Facebook groups and how powerful it was, because the guy that had found our bird had said that it was from the Facebook posts. So I thought, okay, that's great. So Facebook groups and community local groups are great. And I think businesses made me realize, oh my God, I should be posting in local local community groups to advertise my business, to know that, hey, I'm in this street and I'm local to you guys. So that's one thing that it made me think about.
I think it's so interesting because in that moment, like you made a split decision that you're going to call these people, you're going to post online, you're going to put posters up, like you just went all in. And I think oftentimes it takes us at that breaking point or like something traumatic to happen for us to take that action. But it's like, imagine if we showed up that way for ourselves in business, but then here come all the mental blocks and like, I'm going to annoy people, I'm going to upset them, or I don't want to look like I'm being pushy. But it's just like, for you to get the result that you did, you had to show up everywhere all at once. Otherwise, you would have missed out on that opportunity. So I'm really grateful and proud that you were able to find your bird. And I think it's really inspiring, like, how you got that done.
Thank you.
Pulling it back into like who you are, your story, your business evolution. You've been in the industry for over 2 decades now. Where did it all begin for you?
For me, oh my God, that's going way back. So I was working at Priceline at the time when I got my first, I didn't even, I guess, apply for this job at the beginning because I had spoken to a coworker of mine who gets her brows done at the local clinic in the centre. And she had told her therapist, her skin therapist at the time that did her brows, and they're like, oh, we're looking for an apprentice. So the manager of the clinic actually came up to me at Priceline checkout and she's like, hey, I heard that you're interested in getting in the beauty industry. Would you like to become an apprentice? And I was like, oh, okay. So that was how I began in the industry originally. But then I struggled with cystic acne. So when that developed, it killed my confidence, my self-esteem. When I would see clients, back then I didn't have the scarf on. So picture, I don't know if you remember the thing from The Ring where it was just the hair was always covered on the face. I was always talking like this because I didn't want people to see. I even would dim the lights in the clinic room the treatment room because I was just so paranoid. I'd wear the thickest makeup. So for me, going through that struggle, it inspired me to delve deeper into skin and to want to help clients because at the time, this was going back over 20 years ago, the only thing they had was Roaccutane. Go to a dermatologist. There wasn't such a thing as lasers and microneedling when I first came into the industry. So eventually when I got into microneedling, it was the best thing ever. And then I worked for a number of clinics over in that period. And then it inspired me to start on my own, go into, different things, mobile beauty, and then eventually into Derma Clear Clinic, which is where I am now.
So what made you decide to go from working for someone else to actually going out on your own? Like, what drove you to make that decision?
I feel like I loved working in the clinic, meeting new clients, working with other staff in the clinic, but I also didn't like it was too fast paced for me. I was always in trouble for taking too long with clients because for me, it's more than just a service you're providing. They're coming in for that personal touch point, that little bit of care. It's kind of a bit of having that therapeutic feel, it's filling up someone else's cup. So, me doing a facial and be like, okay, rushing, I'm out the door because I'm running late. I didn't like that. And then the other aspect of, whenever I had a client in the room, when the face mask went on, they were like, oh, can you do, come out, they'd knock, whisper, hey, can you do an eyebrow wax next door? And the worst thing for me is to leave my client and then they would hear me next door. So going back to originally in the first clinic I started, we were taught old school, never leave the client in the room alone. Always, if they have a face mask on, do a hand and arm massage. If they don't like that, do a head, neck, shoulder. It was always about providing that extra level of care that made clients want to come back. So it's a point of difference so working for clinics after that and seeing that that's what it was like, I got over it and I wanted to provide a certain level of care and take my time and not rush and let it be quality over quantity. And then that inspired me to go into mobile beauty. But I got into mobile beauty because after I had my first child, I felt like I know what it's like. You can't get out as quickly as before. It was hard to have, make that time for self-care. So I was like, oh my God, I would love for someone to come to my house and, after I've put my daughter to sleep during the day or in the evening, someone to help me relax and make my skin glow.
It's really interesting because when I think about the logistics of running a mobile beauty service business, there's so many things you have to consider, right? Like you've got to have a transportable bed, you've got to accommodate for the fuel, travel times. Like Sydney is not the same as Perth when it comes to traveling. Anything that's 20 Ks in Perth, it'll probably take, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But in Sydney, it's a 45-minute drive just to get 20 Ks away. So how did you find that experience of running a mobile beauty business, did you feel like you made money, or do you feel like it was just kind of breaking even?
I felt like I did make money, but I also feel like I loved the aspect of being out of the house, having a young child, and I was always at home. It was like and I loved the drive. So for me, in that aspect, I didn't have any issues with it. Definitely tiring because I was carrying a massage bed. I think with my son, I was carrying beds around till I was like 7 months pregnant. And people would freak out, and then they would go to attempt to carry the bed because they see me and I'm, this little person, and they would try and carry it and they're like, oh, whoa, I can't even carry it, because they thought I was struggling with it, but I was used to it by then. But it was definitely a mission because, making sure that you had all the products, and I wanted to provide, whether it was the Bluetooth speaker, the lighting, whatever it was, the blankets, the massage bed. It was a lot to take on. But I also, clients loved it because offering treatments, because I started off with just more pampering and more the holistic facials. And then I started going deeper into skin, and I started microneedling and doing more the resurfacing, collagen boosting treatments. And clients loved it because they're like, oh, I don't have to walk around in a center with a red face. They could just be in the comfort of their own home. So that was a big selling point for clients, and they loved that. So it was great while it lasted, but I felt I got to a point where I was outgrowing it because I couldn't offer the treatments that I wanted to bring in mobile. So this is where I was like, oh my God, I need to have, a freestanding, whether it's a home-based studio or a shop front. And then when we moved into the house we're living in now, it had a freestanding studio, and I'm like, okay, let's go.
That's so incredible as well to see that you've made like this huge transition through the industry to now have something that is just your own, you get complete control over, and you're not also stressing yourself out trying to make sure you've got all these things packed. You don't want to get to an appointment and go, oh, I accidentally forgot to pack this thing. Like it would be such a nice, refreshing thing to have it there.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So in 2020, you pivoted fast and launched an e-com business and your own ultrasonic skin device and all the products you now have. What sparked that idea, and how did you bring it to life in such a hectic time? Like, we all were traumatized from COVID.
Yeah, I was traumatized. I was homeschooling. I went from working in the clinic to just sitting between four walls. The anxiety hit at an all-time high, and I'm sure everyone felt that, right? But for me, clients were complaining that they couldn't take care of their skin at home. They're like, oh my God, help me. What do I do? Started at the beginning with at-home facial kits, but with the device that I initially brought out with Dermal Code, it was initially for clients and for home care and to help them support their skin, still keeping the same values and integrity that I have in clinic, but be able to have that within the palm of their hand and be able to do things at home for their skin. And I had already started on that before lockdown hit. So I was already using the device in the clinic. Clients loved it. And then when lockdown hit, I thought, oh my God, I really need to get this going. And that was the first product I launched in 2020. And then I started to see that there was an interest with clinics purchasing the device. So that was something I didn't expect, but I welcomed with open arms. It was so exciting to see that. And then I saw that I wanted to go into more B2B and go into the professional industry. And I wanted to provide a company or a business or even a supplier to clients to clinics that, you didn't have to have a minimum order. I wanted them to feel seen and supported, so even for sole operators, because I know how hard it is as a sole operator myself. Sometimes when you go into a big opening order with the supplier, it's not easily, you can't do it. It can be really hard. So I wanted to offer that to clinics as well, to have where it's minimum order and they can, have it in, and they can also retail it to clients themselves so they can benefit from it, which then led me to do Beauty Expo. I think it was like a year or two. I think it was like 2 years after I launched Dermal Code, and that was amazing. And then through there, I went from I trained in the sculpting and buccal massage, and with working with that, we didn't have a massage medium that was great for sensitive skin. clients were complaining they didn't want to, clinics and operators were like, we can't use shea butter because it's too heavy, too gluggy, made clients break out. So I then saw that there was there was a gap in the industry that needed to be filled, which led me to formulate a balm, a massage medium for the treatment, which was wildly popular when I launched it with clinics. And it's, has the perfect slip, the perfect grip, but also great for sensitive skin. So clients weren't reacting to it and, didn't have an issue with it.
Wow. Like, how did you even know where to get started with all of this? Because there's so many different loopholes you've got to kind of battle when it comes to launching a product or formulating a product. Like, you've got to do testing. Like, did you trial and test different things at home and then find a manufacturer to mass produce it? Have you done it in Sydney? Did you do it offshore? Like, how did that all come about for you?
So with when it came to the ultrasonic device, I was testing out a few different devices because I wanted something that wasn't going to be too overly intense for clients to use at home. I wanted something that was still, they're going to see a result with it. And with the Ionic ultrasonic, it's got multimodality. It helps with deep cleansing, extractions, exfoliation, your microcurrent and your sonophoresis. So think of firming, lifting, and also hydration. And for clients, especially in that lockdown period, it was more about keeping their skin clean, extractions safely. I wanted to provide something for them that they weren't going to damage their skin with it at home, because it's not what I'm about. Even though I wanted to keep my business afloat, I always wanted to keep that integrity. It's always going to be the client care and what's going to be the best for my clients, and now for clinics, because they're going to be providing that for their clients as well. So it took a long time to perfect the device because I wanted it a certain way. I also wanted it to look pretty. I obviously want it to be practical, but I want it to sit nicely on the bench and look aesthetic, because a lot of the devices in the market today look very clinical, and I wanted something originally when I launched this product for clients to sit really pretty in their bathroom as well as being functional. And then with the balm, that was daunting because obviously when you formulate a product, it goes through testing and you have to go through so many different things to get to the right perfect formulation. And for me, once I got that, even after I was like happy with it, and then, I remember with the training academy, one of the trainers because I'd got the balm to promote it in their academy to sponsor it. And I remember her going, I like that. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's, that's a good sign. And the clinic owners and people that were training in that academy using the balm, they fell in love with it. So that was before I had even launched it online. That already was like a pre-launch that it was sold before I even put it out there.
That's amazing. I definitely think that with trying to develop products, you need to spend so much time like really refining and testing and perfecting it. And it's so interesting because I know there's almost this battle, right? Like I don't know if this is in your case, but it's like battle to be first to market, but also the battle to make sure that it's at the standard you want it to be at to launch. But then also knowing that like it's never going to be perfect and you can reiterate and improve over time. Like, did you ever find yourself kind of going, okay, I'm ready to put it out, but then you're like, no, I could do better, and then you kind of stop? Or did you just go, yep, it's ready and let's do this?
Nah, I was always second guessing myself. I think one thing I struggle a lot with is imposter syndrome. Even though I know the product's good, even though I've been, I even use the device in my clinic for my clients, and I only use products and treatments that I love and I wholeheartedly agree with. So, but even all of that, I was like, oh, what if they don't like it? Or what if this? It was always second guessing all the time, and it's annoying.
Oh my gosh, isn't it? What did you do to move through it? What helped you? Was it seeing more social proof, or was it getting confirmation from other people? Or was it just getting like, you know what, I just got to do it?
I think that's what it is. With Derma Code, look at the launch of that website. I remember being so scared before it launched. And then I was like, if I don't do it, and this goes it's with everything, with my social media, with booking clients. I remember the first ever client I had in Derma Clear, and this was when I invested in a big machine, my first ever machine in technology. I was like just really scared. And I booked the client in, and I was like, I didn't expect anyone to book in at the time because starting fresh, had no loyal clientele at that time with it. But I was like, if I don't do it, I'm never going to do it.
I know you've described yourself as a business alchemist, someone who turns mess into momentum. Can you share a moment that really tested you in business and how you used it to grow stronger?
Oh my God, I think I can name about 3. But the first one, I think the biggest one for me was when just before I started Derma Clear Clinic, because I was going through severe postnatal depression after I had my 3rd child. And that was partly my fault, I feel, because I felt like, I have 2 kids. I'm just going to chuck a baby on top, do everything I was doing like I was doing with 2 kids. And it's not the case. You really have to adjust your life and your routine, which is fine. But for me, I struggled with that transition. And when I started Derma Clear, it was incredibly healing for me because it was something that was mine, somewhere where I can hold space for myself, but for others as well. And I found a lot of peace with building Derma Clear Clinic because it was mine. It was something that I could build that was, I love being a wife. I love being a mother, but I needed something that was for me. And I've always loved being in the industry. So I wanted to keep pushing further and going further. So that was one part. I don't know if you've ever heard that from clients or people that have dealt with things like that, like postnatal depression, and business has helped them with it. Or
I think sometimes, because I haven't had kids and I don't know what it's like to go through those challenges, but I have worked with a lot of clients who have had children, and I think the biggest thing for them is they sometimes lose their sense of their self-identity. And
100%.
so, what I mean by that is, I see them invest so much time into being a mother. And so they're giving everything to their children, they're giving everything to their partner or their husband or whoever it is, or they're trying to do it all on their own because they don't have that other support person. And so everything is for everyone else. Then they go into beauty, they start a business. Once again, they're giving every single part away to all their clients. And I think sometimes because they don't know how to create the space and time for self-care for themselves, they throw themselves into business, and business is their outlet. And then that's kind of where they channel all that energy into. And so sometimes it can be really healthy, but sometimes it can also be really toxic. And so it's just being able to know what your intention is. And I think in your situation, it's really beautiful because you were in that dark place and you didn't know kind of what can I do. But instead of staying there, you channeled it into something that was useful for you at the time. And you've created something absolutely incredible. Like when I came across your profile and I looked on your websites, like both of them, the Derma Clear one and the Dermal Co, I was like, firstly, feedback is I didn't know who you were if I looked on your website because it's kind of all so professionally done. I thought it was like literally, like top of the industry in terms of professionalism, but I would have never known that you were the founder if I came across your thing. So I think maybe some feedback is put your face on the websites as well because people want to know who the founder is and why they created it. But in terms of your social media, I know all of those things when I came across your website, I just was like blown away. I was like, yeah, there's no way she's doing this on her own. She's got a whole team and everything. And I know we've spoken about this with, kind of that taboo thing about sometimes home salons aren't the same quality as a professional commercial fit out. But I think that some people have really dodgy home salons that are just done cheap in the back room. They've just thrown it together. But then there's other people who take so much pride in it and they have these incredible fit outs, like at the same level as what a commercial fit out would be, but it's actually on their property and an asset that they're owning because they bought that property. It's smart. I think we'll dive into that a little bit later. But I'm really curious with all of the beauty and the skin and the products, what drew you into the combination of holistic and corrective skin treatments? Has that always been your approach?
Well, I started in the industry more holistic treatments anyway, because there wasn't really much. I think back then, oh God, I remember there was this machine with galvanic and sonophoresis, but it was still more holistic, not technology based. But for me, I fell in love with microneedling to begin with when I first got into the industry a lot deeper, because of what it did for my skin. I had scarring left over from my cystic acne. And even long after my breakout had settled, I had mental scars where I would still be making sure I wore makeup to cover it. And I never took any photos because I didn't want people to see it. And I wish I did now, because seeing the growth, physically, and just like the way my skin looks now, I wish I did, to show clients, look, you can go from that, and there is hope. So microneedling, set the standard for me. And I was like, oh my God, I need to get more into this. And I feel there's a place for both holistic and corrective treatments, because not all clients want any treatments with downtime and recovery, and not all skins can handle the strong treatments. And I feel like this day and age, there's so much buzz around the latest treatment, the latest trend. And I feel like we just need to educate our clients a lot more on what is going to be best for their skin, and not essentially, what's going to be the newest thing. You're going to have this skin, but if your skin can't tolerate it, you're not going to get the result you're after. So.
I was chatting with a salon owner the other day who said, Sammy, I feel like I'm constantly working, but nothing's actually working. She was posting daily, reels, stories, replying to DMs between clients. Her team looked to her for everything, and she still lay in bed at night wondering if next week's bookings would cover the bills. Sound familiar? That's exactly why I created Booked, Banked and In Demand. It's the system I wish I had when I was burnt out, overwhelmed, and wondering if all this effort was ever going to pay off. And it's now helped over 300 beauty business owners get off the income roller coaster and actually grow, filling their books, boosting their income, and finally building a business that gives back instead of draining them. Inside, I'll show you how to attract clients with content that actually converts, use AI and done-for-you scripts to save 20 plus hours a week, hire your first VA and delegate the entire back end of your business, and build a system that keeps your business booked without burning you out. So if you've been craving clarity, clients, cash flow, and calm, this is your shortcut. Click the link in the show notes and join Booked, Banked and In Demand now. Let's build a beauty business that doesn't run you into the ground. I think there's a time and place for holistic and corrective or Western medicine. Let's just look at it from the perspective. If you have an issue, for me, I used to have chronic UTIs. And I was in hospital constantly going and getting antibiotics. And there's no way I was going to sit there and, drink some herbal teas to get rid of my UTI, because it's just not going to work. So I needed that quick fix there and then. But when I realized it kept happening over and over and over again, that's when I was like, I actually need the holistic side for the preventative. And so if you've already got it at its worst point, sometimes you need that corrective treatment to reset, but then you've got to use the holistic side to kind of identify what is the root cause behind it and how do we prevent it. And that's when I had the Chinese herbal tea, and now I don't get them anymore. And I think skin is the same. It's really interesting. I know with, there's a lot of different mindsets about how you approach something. And I think when you look at anything in health, I'm not sure what your thoughts are, but for me, I'm like, be healthy, do the right things, drink water, eat well, move your body, do all the basics, because that's going to build the foundation and that's preventative. But if you're at the point where it's gotten so bad, sometimes you do need to make something a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it. It needs to be a bit more of a stronger course of action.
Yep.
To get
I agree.
Back to that point of reset.
Even with skin, I remember, again, back in the day, I feel like it's prehistoric time. With skin and with acne, for example, we were always told, we got to strip, using the intense treatments, the intense chemical peels, and, going as the industry has evolved, it's not about that. It's about healing the skin first. And that's where it starts. So now when I'm dealing with clients with acne, It's all about gut health, making sure checking to see if there's any gut imbalance, hormone health, all of that. So that all starts in the consultation. So it's, if you don't, I feel like you can't heal a stressed skin as well. So it's one of those things where you got to look at your lifestyle. If you're constantly stressed, but you're doing all these treatment and products, you're not going to get the result you're after. And even with
100%.
Yeah, it all plays a role. And a lot of people don't see, they're like, oh, what can I do? Tell me what treatments, what products. And it's like, no amount of treatment or product is going to work if you're not looking after your skin internally, holistically, looking after your body. So I agree with you when you say, drink water, exercise, do what you got to do. It all plays a role.
Can I just take that one step further and like flip the narrative to business owners? Because as a skin therapist, you know that there's so much more that could contribute to the issue for your clients. But when I work with people who are in the industry, they're like, not having a consistent sleep routine, they're not eating well, they're working these 12 to 14-hour days, back-to-back clients, they're so stressed and they're wondering like, why is my business not growing? Or like, why do I hate life right now? And I'm like, you don't need to go on antidepressants. You don't need to put yourself in this box of like trying to throw more medication and like drink 10 coffees a day and just keep showing up. It's actually coming down to how you look after yourself. And when you look after yourself and you got yourself in check, then you can put your business in check. Then you can look after your clients better. Like the self-care, it's not just skin. It's literally all areas of your life. Something I really love about what you're doing is you offer Chi Beauty. I did Chinese medicine at uni, so I love all of the holistic side of things. And like when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, I think there's a time and place for Western medicine and Chinese medicine, or like Ayurvedic, all these different components, because it existed before Western medicine. Like, how do you think these people healed before there was like things like antibiotics
100%.
and all these cortisone steroids? Like, so much to speak on there. I know you also do the Bacal and you do advanced skin rejuvenation. Like, how do you help clients decide what they really need?
Consultation is the first and foremost. I think that is where I kind of can gauge where they're at and where they want to go. Some clients want holistic only. Some clients want results yesterday, which I love because I'm more impatient than my clients. Like if I can get results yesterday, I will, I want to, and I'll tell them, and I'll always recommend, give my recommendation. But I gauge that first. Once I know where they're at and what kind of direction they want to go in, as long as it's suitable for their skin. So if clients, for example, want to go just wholeheartedly into corrective treatments, I'm like, well, hold on, your skin actually isn't going to be able to tolerate that. We at least need to do 1, 2, 3 before we get to that stage. So that's probably the best way. And then a lot of the times with my clients, thankfully, because I've built, I guess, the brand in such a way where people can see that I'm all about client care and feel them feeling supported, they'll come in and be like, Halima, look, I trust you. You just tell me what I need. Like, I don't even care what you tell me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I love that. But I'm like, I still want to make sure, are you going to be okay with, I'll always be very thorough in how I explain things to them so they know what they're getting themselves into, the expectation of their results. Yeah. So it's crazy because some clients will want to come in for a buccal massage, for example, but they have a specific skin concern they want to work on. And I'll be like, oh, this will help with this, but you're better off suited for this treatment, if you're going through that. But offering the variety, people love it because they've got an immense variety to choose from. If they want a holistic approach to aging concerns, I've got it. If they want a more, result-driven treatments, I've got it. So I like having that variety. It's fun.
Literally, I'm listening to you explaining all that stuff and I'm like battling in my brain. I've got Hannah Montana singing, "You got the best of both worlds." And I'm just like trying to focus on what you're saying, but that's singing in my head. And I was like, yeah, you get the best of both. I love it. What?
Oh my God, I love you, Sammy. You're like me. It's good to know because that's what happens to me too.
Yeah. Just like, but you get the best of both worlds. So yeah, maybe you should play that in your next reel. And it's just like,
I should.
because some people are just so, it has to be black or white. And I think there's so much beauty in duality. There's yin and yang, guys, yin and yang, there's the good within the bad, there's the bad within the good. All together, it brings balance. And I think that's just such a great way to look at life. I don't think anything's ever going to be one way or the other. And I even say that like with my coaching or like with, topics we might talk about. I might be very strong on one opinion or belief, but there's still the other side. And, it's just being able to look at things objectively and think, how do I support my clients the best? Because it's not about me and me being right. It's actually about what they need and what's going to support them on their journey. And you having that mindset, that's probably why you are so successful, because you've done everything with that client-centered approach.
Yeah.
I love that you call yourself a skincare hotline. How do you maintain that level of care, support, and responsiveness without burning out with your clients?
I feel like when I say that to clients, they don't necessarily, calling me at 12 o'clock at night. It's just letting my clients know that they feel they're supported, they're seen. And it doesn't matter, like some clients will message me at like 11 o'clock at night, and I don't sleep early, which is probably something I should change. But my phone's on silent anyway, and most of the time on airplane mode after a certain time. But if there is anything urgent, it does still come up if I'm awake, and I'll check it and I'll respond to them, especially if it's something urgent. If it's something that can wait to the next day, I'll hold off. But I want clients to feel that they can message me. So even when they do message me, just to kind of put that into context, when they message me and it's not an urgent thing, if it's late at night, they're not expecting a response straight away. It's something that, like me, when it pops into your head, you're like, shit, I better send it now before I forget. And then they don't mind, that I text them back the next day, as long as they know that they've got that back and forth. And I don't want them to feel like, you only get me in the clinic. No, you've got me whenever you need me. Yeah. So in that way, I don't feel like I've had to put a system in place to stop me from burning out, because it's never been overwhelming. But clients love that they feel that they have that support if they need it. And they'll just message me little things like, oh my God, Halima, I'm doing my night routine. I can't remember how to use the products in which, and I'm happy to respond. It's like I love being that kind of part of like a skincare hotline. So it's good.
And that's what will keep them coming back, because they feel so much more connected to you, right? Like it doesn't feel like one of those big chains where you go in, you're just another number, you leave, then the only, kind of point of contact you get is your next appointment is due.
Yeah.
It's just like giving that full support.
I guess I always look at it from my perspective. It's what would I want going into a clinic and the kind of support, because I've been to clinics in the past over the years where I didn't feel that, and it stops you from going back to that place if you don't feel seen and supported, because it's a very daunting thing to have trusting someone with your skin. It's like, it's everything. If something happens and goes wrong, you can't really hide it.
I agree. And I think with skin as well, I've said this on the podcast before, but when I work with clients, I have noticed a pattern where anyone who's like lashes, brows, nails, anything that's relatively like an instant before and after, they can get clients quickly in comparison to something like skin or cosmetic tattoo, because it's a higher ticket item. It requires a lot more trust, and there's more objections, because for them it's either a big ongoing investment or it's a big permanent change that they want to make sure they're going to the right person. And so that kind of funnels me into your next kind of segment of the episode. Let's talk about your socials. Like, people are always asking you who runs your page, and it's you. Like, what is your approach to creating content that connects so deeply?
So with my socials, I feel like it's showing up as my authentic self, and I feel like it's been liberating for me. So every post that I create, every reel, it's always something that's I felt relatable, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like my clients will find this and connect with it. A lot of people that ask me, who does your socials, is because the way I structure it and do it, it is a full-time job. It's something that I've got to put my everything into, because it's time consuming as well. But I wanted my socials to encompass my character as well, my personality, so that it shines through when people come across my page. They know who they're going to eventually meet in person. And I've had so many clients that were longtime followers and that eventually became clients because they're like, I loved how you come across on your socials, because I try and being authentic, not having all these fancy filters. I want people to see real skin. I show up even when I look tired and I've had a rough day. Even if people don't know I've had a rough day, I still show up so that clients can see that.
When you look at your socials, have you ever had much of a strategy, or have you just kind of winged it the full way through?
I feel like at the beginning when I first started, I had no clue. And I've had this page for now about 10 years, the Derma Clear Clinic page. So I've had it for a long time. But I feel like the moment I started to show up as my authentic self, and even in all my quirkiness, and I was always worried about how people were going to perceive that, like, oh my God, are people going to think I'm this big weirdo? And it was met with such warmth that I was like, okay, cool. People like to see, the way you are. So it was liberating, showing up with no makeup on, my skincare routine, little, funny stuff that happens behind the scenes. It made me feel more comfortable in my own skin, as well as making clients feel comfortable in coming to me. So it was like a bit of both in that way.
Oh, yeah. I personally, from both a customer and a business perspective, when I'm searching on Instagram and I can't find a photo of the person who owns the brand and I can't even find their name, it feels like I'm talking to a faceless account. And it actually will prevent me from reaching out, because I'm just going, if there's always just photos of their work, I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're like. I don't know if I'm going to sit through a 2-hour treatment or 1-hour treatment. Are we going to get along? And like everything that you've done is essentially introduce yourself. You're building that relationship. So by the time they come in, it feels like they already know who you are. They've already had these conversations with you because they've seen it through the screen, so that you break that barrier to resistance. And you've already created that trust. So when they have you offer them an aftercare product, or they have you offer an upsell or service or suggest anything, like they know, because you've always shown up so honestly and authentically, that they can trust you. And I think that is worth its weight in gold. So many people I talk to who haven't posted themselves on social media, they're like so scared. What if I fumble my words? What if I get judged? And like 90% of the time, who they're really scared of is the person who bullied them in high school, or the family member who said, who are you to go start your business? And it's actually this whole story that they've created for themselves, and they look at the negatives of how many people will judge them or that will put them down. But in your case, you put yourself out there and the complete opposite happened. More people started reaching out to you. More people started connecting with you. Your business grew. I'm really curious, for the person who's really scared to show up as themselves or post something on social media or even just talk on a story for the first time, what piece of advice would you want to give them?
Before I go on to that, because you just brought up a good point, because everything you said about bullied in high school, negative comments from whatever family member or people in your community, I had all of that. So this is why I was so scared when I first started putting myself up on social media. And the more I posted, and don't get me wrong, if even now people are like, oh my God, you come across so confident on camera. And I'm like, I swear I'm not. It's gone through just a lot of editing, a lot of takes, a lot of swearing at myself, but just being like not overthinking it. I think I learned in time the best piece of advice to give someone is show up. Who cares? Even if you look scruffy one day, you can always the next day show up and look glam. It's not like people are going to remember you for being at your worst, but they're going to remember you for being real. So I would rather be real and authentic and have people see me be a human being, even though I do provide these services and I'm hella good at what I do and I can educate you on your skin, I also have a personality. And that was one reason why I did go through sometimes social media agencies, and I love the way they curate the feed. It looks so aesthetic, so pretty, but I also felt like it wasn't me. It was too rigid. Like I felt like it was a chat GPT version of me, and I'm not, and people that know me, I wanted people to not get a shock. They see this chat GPT version, and then when they come see me, they're like, that doesn't match. I wanted to match both ways.
Oh, I love what you're touching on here, because I find the same thing with social media marketing agencies. Not all, but there's definitely a majority of them out there that focus so much on creating perfectly polished aesthetic graphics and content to the point where it's not actually relatable, it's not inviting, and it feels very clinical. And so for someone who wants to build a connection with the audience, it's actually really hard to connect with that. And I found that with my own content, posting the podcasts versus posting everyday life photos with literally the text from stories saved as a carousel, my highest performing post, because it's just that level of real and just straight to the point. It's not, I didn't spend 10 hours putting this post together. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a time and place for both. Like if you're doing a launch, you're selling a product, like yes, do have your curated stuff, but in the day-to-day, like what is your behind the scenes? What is your process? Like, did you do this training? Like, I don't want to see this perfect carousel about your training. I want to hear you talk about like what you learned and what you're excited to go implement to get results for your clients. Like that's the type of content we're seeing performing really well in today, right?
And can I say something? Because it's something that you started posting, Sammy, that I was like, oh my God, I love this. With your carousels and the storytelling and not just putting so much effort into it. It was just like quick. It inspired me to do that. And I that's another thing is you've got to be willing to want to learn. It doesn't matter what age group that you're at. You've got to be willing to learn from anyone that inspires you because that's how you grow. You don't grow if you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing, when I asked you, Sammy, to audit my Instagram and tell me your opinion, even though people say I'm good at what I do, I'm like, I need an expert advice on it. And I took your advice, even if it was with the little small things that you told me, it made a big difference.
What did you do differently?
So it was, for example, you told me about using the same font because I had different font on different posts and it wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
And having a bit more of a structure. So still be myself and show that authenticity. What else was there? And like it just those little, and having the first couple of pin posts more about what I do because it's the first thing people are going to come see. What is that first post that you want new clients to see, which I'm working on. You've inspired me to want to do. I have never done a proper headshot photo shoot, which I need to do. So yeah, it's just a lot of things that I feel like if you don't keep those doors open to want to learn from people, you're missing out.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know what, one of the biggest, hardest things for me getting into like the coaching space is like, because I was younger than most other business coaches, I felt this need to have to know it all. And it was actually because I was fearing that these people who were older than me and quote unquote had more experience would laugh at me or they would judge me or like just whatever, all the shit you make up in your head that's not even true, right? And I really struggled if someone had a different opinion than me or they were like, but what about this? In the early days, I would be like, oh, because I was so scared of being wrong. But now I'm like, every time I'm wrong, I'm like, great, what do I need to learn? Great, what's not working here? And I think that when you embrace failure or you embrace making mistakes and you take that as learning opportunities, your ego kind of takes the back seat and it opens up so many new opportunities for connections and being able to grow yourself. And like, that's what I love about what you've done. You've consistently upskilled across your career. I'm actually really curious, when you did all your website, your branding, your socials and stuff, did you kind of just figure it out on your own or have you gone and invested to learn? Like, how did you get to where you are right now?
I would love to say that I had this whole massive structure, but I think I winged most of it and it's worked so far, but I feel like it becomes where you become at a standstill where you need that more, whether it's a business coach, whether it's a virtual assistant, all of that sort of thing. But I had to learn all of it myself. I had so many fails in the background. The amount of times I, would break down and thankfully I have my husband's support through everything, through looking after the kids and all of that has been amazing. But I guess leading up until now, more recently, I've invested in a business consultant for Dermal Code because I'm transitioning my business from B2C to B2B. And I know I needed help. I needed to feel like I have another staff member on board because I can't run two businesses as much as it's amazing. I've even had my husband was helping me with Dermal Code and posting out orders. But yeah, it's one of those things that I probably struggled more than normal because I didn't source out help earlier. With starting Dermal Code, I didn't know what am I meant to use? Like, what do people use as their printing machine to print out labels? All of those little things I had to learn the hard way. And when I launched Dermal Code, there was no chat GPT. So I couldn't just be like, hey, 1, 2, 3, what can I find out? So I had to do that the hard way with that.
Because I know it's so easy to jump online and see, oh, these people have big followings and stuff. But like for you, that was 10 years of building, trialing, testing, making mistakes, things flopping, things working well, doubling down, like that journey for you. Looking back now, do you think if you were to have learnt marketing early on, you could have collapsed the amount of time that it took you to get to success?
I think it definitely would have helped. I feel like it would have helped me have more of a structure, whereas winging it, you can get there, but it's kind of like going in a really, you're not going straight. So I think it definitely would have helped. But I do feel like when we're going back on turning things from certain negative things that have happened, for me, every time I had either something that failed or a negative experience, it made me be like, okay, what can I do to change it? I hyper focus and be like, okay, how am I going to do this? And transitioning my business to B2B was one of them because a couple of bad experiences I had last year that almost made me think about leaving the industry because I felt so deflated. My self-worth had diminished. So I feel like when you hit that rock bottom feeling, you realize it's not the worst thing in the world and you can rebuild, and it's all about your mindset. So I feel like coming into the last 6 months has pushed me to hire that business consultant and it's been amazing so far, and it's only early stages.
It's super interesting because I look at the salons that scale quickly, as in get fully booked, and it doesn't take them 5 years or something crazy. And I think it does come down to marketing. And that's one of those key skills that I think if you can learn early on, that can really help you grow your business. Because I think when we look at businesses in general, not just beauty, like if you go out and you start a business and you don't have an audience to sell to, it's really hard to build up from the ground up because it takes time. And like not having an audience to launch to, you're going to have to either do what you did with Echo, like door knocking, putting posters up, like just front and center everywhere to attract a clientele in a short period of time. Or you kind of have that slow build where you're posting, it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere, and then maybe like a couple years in, you're getting somewhere, or you have to put lots of money into PR, Facebook ads, like something that's going to just help you explode in front of a massive audience. Like when I look at people who compare themselves or they feel really deflated in business, I think sometimes they have a great concept or idea, but they don't have the audience to launch to. And so when it comes to your social strategy and what you've done to build your audience, when did you find that it started really taking off for you?
For my business with Derma Clear?
Yeah, with Derma Clear.
So it was interesting because it made me think about that. When I first started, I had invested quite a bit of money into the machine, like in the equipment that I bought. And it was close to 100K, and I didn't have a loyal clientele base that I could, so I had to go all in. And even then I didn't like comparing it to what I did with my Bird Echo and the way I went in hyper focus and the way I launched it, plastering it everywhere. I didn't do that with the initial launch with Derma Clear. So that's something, if I were to do things differently now, it'd be very different. But in saying that, I did do really well when I launched the clinic in my own way. And what else was there? It was through socials. That was my biggest form of where I got my clients, through word of mouth, obviously, referrals, but through social media. It's where people wanted to see what you're like, see your stories, get to know you a little bit more. They inquired through DMs before they went through directly through to me, like through text and through phone. So yeah, I feel like the biggest thing for me was social media platforms.
Mm. It's so interesting now because social media is a non-negotiable as a business owner. You know, maybe back when you started, social media wasn't really a thing. So it would have been such a different landscape to do your marketing. And, you know, you hear it a bit from people who get into the industry. They're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do socials and I don't know how to take content. And it's like, it's not a nice thing to learn. It's actually a necessity to learn now. And it's unfortunate that there are some incredible therapists out there who know how to deliver an incredible service. But if they don't understand the marketing side, the person down the road who has, you know, a very average service but better marketing will always win. And I think that's one thing about our industry is like, now, if I were to give advice to anyone who was looking to transition into running their own business, whether it's for the first time or whether that's leaving a clinic or salon and going out and work on their own, I would say you need to build your audience first. You need to have an audience to launch to, like going out, taking a course and then starting a business with no audience. It's the most defeating and deflating thing you could possibly experience because you're pouring your heart and soul into this, but you've got no one to sell to. And sometimes, like, if you know that that's your long-term goal, like how can you get started sooner and just start documenting your journey? And I think that's what I've really been loving seeing content on social media at the moment is like the documentation of like, here, I'm going and starting this. I'm going and talking to this person. This is what happened. This went wrong. And people get really invested so that they want to be a part of your journey. So when you launch, you've got the audience there to sell to.
I think as well, you said, times were very different. Even that it's been 6-7 years since I launched Derma Clear. Social media back then wasn't like the way it is now. It was probably easier to market certain things even without a massive prep behind it. Whereas nowadays, I feel like because our industry is become a lot bigger and there are a lot more clinics around, and I feel like in Sydney, we're highly saturated with skin clinics around, I think especially in Sydney. So it's really important to have that point of difference, and marketing will play a massive role to make you stand out over other clinics as well.
Super valuable as well to know that like marketing is what you need to invest in because yeah, it's going to be the make or break for your business. If you don't have marketing, then you don't have clients. If you don't have clients, you don't have money. If you don't have money, you don't have a business. I remember when we were chatting off mic, you mentioned that some brands assumed you were a shopfront clinic because of your social media presence. What do you think that says about perception versus reality in our industry?
I feel like it shows that, perception makes a huge difference on social media, like how you present yourself. And I feel like there needs to be a shift in that because it shouldn't just be about you having a shop front. It should be about what you have to offer, the kind of results you're getting for clients, what the kind of space that you hold for your clientele. I feel like that plays a huge role.
And like, let's talk about the stigma around home-based clinics. You've built a wildly successful one. What would you say to brands that still won't partner with clinics like yours because you are a home-based clinic?
I feel like they are missing out on the most dedicated, booked out, result-driven clinics and a lot of clinics that are shopfront started out as a sole operator. So I feel like if there was more opportunity, it would be amazing. There should be a bit of a shift in that.
What was your experience? Did you have brands telling you, nah, we're not going to work with you now because you told them you were home-based? Like, can you elaborate? I feel like for the listener, they're like, wait, there's a story here.
So there were brands when I first initially started Derma Clear that I approached and they were like, sorry, we don't, they'd ask, are you a home-based studio? Where are you based? And I'd say home-based studio. And they were like, oh, sorry, we don't associate, we don't deal with them. And then I've had some brands that I've wanted to reach out for another skin clinic, a colleague of mine, and they're like, oh, and it's a brand I already stock. They're like, oh, we don't stock to home clinics anymore. But I'm like, hold on, I'm a home-based clinic. Like, what's changed? So I don't know. I mean, and I know it's important for brands to filter out certain places. I mean, it's got to be something that is up to standard. I get that. But I feel like there just needs to be more inclusiveness, I think, more support, because we also have that presence in the industry that we are contributing.
It's quite interesting because if you look at it, we're also seeing a shift where some people who owned big clinics or studios or salons make the change to go fit out a nice home-based studio, and then they're going back home. And so it's not happening with everyone. And I'm not saying like that's going to be the make or break for the industry, but I definitely have seen a shift with how some people started at home, they've scaled up, they've realized this isn't for me, or I actually made more profit when I was just working for myself, or they're trying to be smart about their future and go, do I want to pay off a commercial shop front and have a lease for 5 years, 10 years, or would I rather build out a nice little home salon that is essentially an asset that I will own because it's on my property that I am paying a mortgage for? And it's like some people, I get it from both sides. Remember how we were talking about that duality, that yin and yang? Like I get it because like the people who are investing in these commercial shop fronts are like, no, because that's a home salon. I put all this money and time. I want it here. And then you've got these home salons that some are incredible. They outdo the shop front salons sometimes, like because of their fit out. And then you've also got, there's always two sides. I wonder if there's a way to really like, instead of judging someone, whether you will like supply to them, or I don't know if judging, maybe qualifying is a better word. Like instead of qualifying based on like where they're located, commercial or home based, maybe it should be based on like how they run their business and what type of clients they attract and what type of results or values they have. Because when I look at brands, I think the biggest thing is finding people who align with your values and represent your company in the right way, because it's a values-based thing. Like if you guys share the same values, you're aligned to that brand. I don't think they should be dismissing you if you are aligned. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I feel like with being a home-based studio at the beginning when I first started, I was always even embarrassed to tell people. I felt like I would always, it's because people minimize it. You're like, oh, you're just a home-based studio. So I constantly, if someone asked me, like, yeah, I have a home-based, I didn't know how to, and now I'm like, yeah, I run a clinic, like, because it just because it's not a shop front does not mean, and it takes away from your business, doesn't mean you're any smaller. And you're right, a lot of home-based studios are outdoing shop fronts because I guess I feel like there's more flexibility, and the reason why brands shouldn't diminish or take away and not offer home-based studios is because we wear all the hats. Our content creator, we're the admin, we're the therapist, we do it all. So we're quite passionate in what we bring to the table.
Obviously, there's good and the bad in the industry in terms of how people run their businesses, how they treat clients, how they perform treatments and things like that. What do you think separates the best from the rest? Whether it's home-based or whether it's in a commercial thing, like what do you think makes a really great therapist?
A really great therapist is being real with the client. Clients always tell me they love how honest I am. They love how I just cut through the BS. I don't sit there and, because I'm a shit salesperson, I do not know how to sell products, but I know how to recommend. I'm very passionate about skin and wanting to help. So when I talk about a product that I know is going to help them, it comes so natural to me, and they can see it. They see the genuine feeling of it. I feel like I haven't worked in a clinic to know how it is nowadays, but back when I used to work with the clinics that I remember I had one owner tell me, they're like, why didn't you sell that package? And I'm like, they're like, do you feel sorry for the client? Is that why you didn't sell it? And I'm like, no. It's like, I didn't want to tell them I don't like your products. Like I wouldn't even use them myself, but I couldn't say that to them. So it wasn't easy for me to just promote something I didn't like. And that's why having my own home base, I'm able to provide that and only work with brands that I love, that match my value and integrity.
I think that's super powerful. Running businesses, well, let's say 2 businesses for you, is not for the faint-hearted, especially when you've also got a family, 3 kids. I don't know how you do it, Superwoman. What boundaries or habits have helped you not burn out?
Oh, God, I had to learn the hard way with that as well. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted, because there are so many hats in business, and then you have so many hats in your household with your kids and their needs. So for me, I've had to structure my days. So my days at the moment, this is why I love having a home-based studio, is I work within the school hours, from 9 to 2:30, so that I have time to do school drop-off, school pick-up. And then if I do afternoon evenings, it's like the Wednesday and Thursday when my kids go to karate and swimming. So it's not going into family time, and I still get to spend time with them when they're home. But yeah, it doesn't interrupt that. So that's been part of it. The other part is just making more time for myself, implementing the self-care habits, whether it's going for a walk in the morning before I start work, because I'm outdoors. I have a bit of the sun before I'm in the clinic, and then in the house doing housework and everything. So it's creating a balance where I'm showing up for myself just like I'm showing up for my clients and my clinic and businesses and my family. So that was one thing I felt like I always had to be switched on. I had to wear all the hats all the time. If I didn't wear all the hats, something was going to lack, whether it was with my family, the house, my clinic, my business, losing clients. And I realized that it wouldn't happen if I took a step back to have that time for myself and show up for myself. So the biggest thing was that, making that time.
So learning how to create the space to recharge and refill your cup so that you could give to others without just always trying to take every last bit of energy left. What kind of support have you put in place recently in your business or your life? And what would you say to others who put that pressure on themselves and are still trying to do it all alone?
I would say look at your life, like adjust your hours if necessary. For me, I didn't do that at the beginning. I didn't have set days, set hours, because I was trying to build my clientele, and it slowly did burn me out. Even though I had my husband's support, he was helping with the kids, it's still hard. So fast forward, learning to adjust my hours and have set days. Like I have a set day for social media content. I have a set day for admin. I have a set day. I think separating it, because I wear so many hats being the solo operator. I used to try and do everything in the one day, and it just didn't work. I was a mess. So separating, I think, helped a lot during the week. And then having
you need
days
a virtual assistant, I'm telling you.
Yeah, 100%. That's on my list, Sammy, on my list. But yeah, with separating that, I even curated days off during the week so that I also had time to recharge. Because on the weekend, I'm with the kids, the family, and obviously it's amazing. We spend time with the family, but it's not downtime for me because I'm constantly switched on. So I realized that having the days off during the week helped.
Oh, that's super valuable advice, especially if you can schedule off a Monday or a Tuesday where it might not necessarily be as busy with clients. Because I could imagine, especially being a mum, if you've got kids doing sports, that whole weekend is a write-off, because it's got to take this person here. And if you've got multiple kids, it's just a whole day dedicated to being a glorified Uber driver. Okay. I'm super curious about everything that you're building right now. What's the legacy that you want to leave behind? Not just with Derma Clear Clinic, but also as a leader in the skin space?
I want people and therapists, and this is one reason why I'm loving the direction Dermal Code is going, because I want therapists to feel seen, supported, and help them build their businesses. I want to empower them so you don't have to fit the mold. You don't have to be this cookie cutter version to be successful. You can be yourself, show up as your authentic self, stay true to who you are, because you don't want to lose yourself in the process. For me, creating my businesses and showing up on socials, I've never felt more liberated. As daunting as it may be to show up on socials, the more you do it, the more liberated you feel. You just feel like, oh yeah, I just put up a post and, I put up a post the other day and, my bird Echo had flown into the bathroom and I was trying to record a nightly routine. And then I just recorded a little snippet, put it up, and, I was really tired that day. But in the messiness, it's nice to just do it and not overstress about it.
Wait, hold on. Do you reckon people hate social media and they burn out from social media because they're trying so hard to be someone that they're not? Like, do you think that might be one of the reasons why?
I think some of them are, but majority of what people tell me, and this is business owners from all industries, because I have clients that are business owners in different categories. They tell me that I'm like, oh my God, it's just, they'll tell me like, oh my God, you do it so well. And they're like, I can't do it. I'm too embarrassed, or I don't like the way I look on camera. And I'll always tell them that just do it, even if it's a few seconds, even if it's little things to slowly start getting you more comfortable. For me, the silliest thing that made me feel more comfortable behind the screen was being silly. And I've even put it on my highlights under Halima on Derma Clear, where it's just little snippets where things have gone wrong on camera, and I've just uploaded it. And I would love that if I saw that with people, because it's just to show that you're human and we make mistakes and we fumble, kind of like what's happening in the podcast today, where we've lost our train of thought a few times. But it's just
Legit.
Nice to feel like we're human, who cares?
I remember one of the pieces of advice I was given from a mentor was, Sammy, you're too perfect. No one can relate to you. Your perfect Instagram post, you put yourself together, you do this, you do that. And I realized, I was like, oh, people actually like the raw, the real. And I started doing more of that and I attracted more aligned people. But I still realized that there was a level of professionalism that has to come through to attract high value people. Otherwise, if you're a social media manager and your socials suck, then people won't want to buy from you, obviously. The one thing that I really found helped me with all of the marketing stuff was just knowing that for every person you think is going to judge you, there's always like at least one person, if not more than one person, for that one person who's putting you down, that is inspired and is wishing that they had your confidence, or wishing that, they could show up in that way. And I think when you look at social media, instead of it being like a chore or something that you burn out from, or you're just like, I hate doing, look at it as an opportunity to inspire. Like for me doing this podcast, like this is a responsibility for us to give value to other people. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about how are we helping people here. And I think when you have that mindset shift and you're like, oh, I'm not doing it to like one up the salon down the road. I'm doing it because there's people out here with really like severe skin issues that need support and they don't even know I exist. And it's like, who are you showing up? That one person who's like completely at their breaking point. Like when you show up for them, they're like, oh my gosh, Halima, you have just saved me in so many ways that you don't even realize.
I think it's so important to show up for clients and for yourself. And you're right. And for me, I stay in my own lane. I love supporting other people in the industry. When you stay in your own lane, you focus on what you can do to help your clients and help yourself improve and grow. Not focus on, there's always going to be someone doing better than you. There's always going to be someone doing worse off. It's always important to just stay in your lane and focus on how you can improve and not waste your energy and time on everything else.
I love that. And that's so valuable. Like even I think every single person listening can relate to that. It's just like, ooh, do you look at other people or do you keep going down your way? And they're like, oh, shiny object. No. Keep going down your own lane. I remember reading that thing about racehorses have the blindfolds on their eyes, so they just keep going straight. They're not looking at their competition. All right, Halima, this is my favorite part of the episode. This is where we do a rapid fire round of questions. So these aren't like big, long 5-minute answers. These are just first thing that comes to mind. There's no right or wrong. Yep. Are you ready?
I think. I wasn't ready for this podcast.
Are you ready?
I wasn't ready for this podcast and I'm like, I just did it. So yes, I'm ready. Let's go, Sammy.
Yes, you're ready. Okay, let's do this. All right, what's one treatment you'll never get tired of performing?
Microneedling. My all-time fave
Ooh.
is because it's something that it's something that's great for everyone. There's less risk than a lot of treatments for, pigmentation and different skin concerns. So for me, yeah, and seeing the results I'll never get sick of.
Love it. What's a piece of advice you always come back to?
Someone wise that I went to asking me when I was going through those negative experiences and when I was about to partner with certain people, he's like, is it helping you build your dream or theirs? Is it helping you build your business or theirs? And that was one thing that I was like, oh my God, I'm helping build theirs. So that was one thing that really stuck with me. Another one is that like every setback just is setting you up for a bigger comeback. So never let things get you down. Process it if you need to, sit in it for a little bit, but dust yourself up and keep going, because there's always so much fire when you come back bigger and better than before.
Ooh, the come up. I'm here for it. What's the biggest myth about skin you'd love to bust?
That your skin type is the same as a TikTok influencer. The amount of times I've had to stop clients from using certain products because they're like, oh, I saw this from a TikTok influencer. TikTok made me do it. That's probably the biggest one at the moment.
There's so many, like TikTok is like Dr. Google. People just self-diagnose and they have no idea what they're actually talking about. And then it costs them more money because they make the mistakes because they thought they were taking a shortcut. It's just kills me. Okay, what's your favorite business investment that you've made?
I would have to say myself in growth and now, in education, because the more I learn, the more I'm able to give back to my clients, and growth, the more I grow as a business, the more I can provide things that I couldn't before. For example, not wearing as many hats and being able to give more because I'm not as burnt out.
I can see that would be super valuable for not only you, but your clients and your family if you have that support in place. What's your personal mantra that's helped you through the hard times?
Personal mantra, that you don't need to have it all figured out, that just, go with the messiness and the chaos. You don't always have to be, that was something I struggled with for so long. And the more I got comfortable with, I don't have to have it all figured out. Let's just keep going. I'm doing all the necessary things and let's see where it goes.
We do put too much pressure on ourselves. And I think as well, there's so much beauty in learning from other people and being able to ask questions. Like I think if you're in skin and you've got a client who you don't know how to solve their skin, it's a lot of pressure to put on yourself to just keep doing all these different treatments. And then, it's been like 6 treatments later and you can't find the answer, versus like dropping your ego, reaching out and saying, hey, I really admire your work. I've been following you for a while. I've got this case. Would I please be able to ask for some of your advice? Because I really value your expertise. And then they're going to be like, oh, yeah, send it through. Let's have a chat. And if they don't, they suck. Don't idolize them.
And you know what? That's so true. But you know what? That's exactly the kind of network I've built with other clinic owners. And I love it because I've asked them for advice with certain things, and then they in turn have, and if I brought in a new treatment, they're like, oh my God, what do you think of it? Do you like it? And I'm always, and they get worried. I feel like some people are like, thank you so much for responding to me, because some people hold back. I don't like to gatekeep, there's enough business for everyone, and what your vibe is. And for example, the way I show up on social media, my vibe attracts my tribe. I wholeheartedly believe that, because when people ask me, what's your worst client like? And I'm like, I don't have one. I honestly have the best clients, and it's the best feeling because, they've come on seeing you on social media and they get to know how you are. We're very similar, and we gel, and it's awesome.
I love that. And last question is, what's something that you want to see more of in this industry?
Something I want to see more is less focus on poreless glass skin, more about real skin and texture, and we're not going to be perfect, and more about healthy aging, not so much about, oh my God, you're not meant to look a certain way by this age. Always make healthy skin more attainable rather than younger. Like we all want to look our best, right? But we don't make it more attainable, make it more of a real thing. to be attainable.
I think that's a really great takeaway. I love that. Halima, thank you so much for a raw, inspiring conversation. You're proof that the most successful beauty brands are built on intention, evolution, and heart. Halima, if people want to connect with you, they want to book a treatment or they want to check out your products that you launched during your COVID lockdown that have now turned into an ultimate success story, where can they find you and connect with you?
I love that how you directed it back at me. So Derma Clear Clinic, I am on socials on Instagram. I am on TikTok as well. Dermal Code as well on socials if you are a business looking to implement a new device that doesn't take up a lot of space but is multifunctional. Head over to dermalcode.com.au.
Amazing. And is there any last key takeaways you would like to leave before we wrap up the show?
I guess the only thing, because a lot of people ask me this on a regular basis about social media, is just show up. Doesn't matter if you're in your messiness, chaos, just the more it becomes a consistent thing, even when I feel at my worst, I'll still try and show up, because I feel like the times when I haven't, I start to go backwards and I get into a rut, and then I start to feel this nerve-wracking, daunting feeling of showing up on socials again. So that's really about it.
Thank you so much, Halima, for coming on. I really appreciate your time and your knowledge. You are such an incredible person to interview. If you've listened to this episode, please make sure that if you're loving it, share it to your stories, tag Halima and beauty industry leaders. But until next time, keep leading with purpose and turning setbacks into your next success story. Bye.
Thank you for having me on.
Audience exclusive.